Hey everyone, welcome back to Random Spirit Podcast. I am your host, Cynthia. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to go on and share Journey to Self 70 Days of Healing Generational Trauma from the Root to the Crown. But I also have a single chakra session. If any of you are interested, I will link that below. A chakra scan. I go on and I tune into your chakras and let you know the imbalances, if it's blocked, stagnant, and I give you information on the chakra and I give you guidance, activities to go on and better connect with that chakra. Everything is linked below. Now, to go on and get into today's episode, I hope you all enjoy it just as much as I did making it. Welcome, Tina, the amazing author of the book, Finding My Sovereignty. Welcome to my podcast. Girl, I'm so excited for today's episode. I'm just so excited. Like, wow, girl. Wow. Okay. Your story and just like who you are and your vibe. I don't even know where to start. So just go on and introduce us. My girl's an author. She's, a Sagittarius, beautiful. Just there's just so much that we're gonna unpack today. So girl, take it. Take it from
Yeah,
here.
all right, perfect. Well, hi. So I'm Tina, and I am the author of Finding My Sovereignty. And this is a memoir that I wrote recently. Well, it took me 4 years to write it, so I guess not so recently. And in September, I published it and on Amazon, and you've just read it. So this is why we're
Yes.
having these wonderful conversations. But yeah, now I'm just out there just wanting other people to read it so that they can find the healing that I felt when I was writing it. And really,
Yeah.
that's just kind of my mission at this moment, is to just help plant the other seeds for help plant seeds for other people to wake up
Hmm.
spiritually, and to help people heal and finally find this inner peace, so that they can move forward in life and not be stuck in all of their, their own trauma and pain and suffering. So yeah.
I've read the book, some of the book, and girl, okay? To anyone that is listening, read it. Like, purchase it and read it because I was telling you prior that your girl probably has ADHD. I have a very short attention span. And I'm an audio girly, but it's like the way you wrote it, like in the beginning, I was hooked. Where are we going with this? I think that was the perfect way to
Pull you
introduce.
in.
Yes, just from what I read, it's like you're an old soul and you're clearing a lot of just like trauma, girl.
Oh yeah.
Whatever you want to share, because I feel like people need to read the book because it's just this that part where you said that your world changed in a day. It's
Well, and
crazy.
that happens to us, right? We have these moments, these defining moments in our life where everything changes, and whatever life you were leading before that is over for whatever reason. For some people, it's the death of
Yeah.
a parent, a sibling, a child, a partner, right? These huge defining moments. Maybe finding out you have a terminal illness. These are defining moments,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. That was your defining moment. Just like go over quickly about your story in a way.
Sure. Let's start with what prompted me to write it in the first place, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to start at the end, if you will, which is what the book does as well. So that's appropriate. I I was caught in this pattern of toxic relationships, and the
Yeah,
last one really, it brought me to my knees.
yeah.
With each of these partners that I had, I'm a super self-reflective person. So I've always been really self-reflective, and I always took a lot of time in between partners as well. I was never someone to jump from relationship to relationship. That was not my thing.
Hmm.
In fact, I didn't even, my first boyfriend, I was 28, 27, 28. Like, I really waited a long time. Relationships were something that eluded me when I was younger.
Hmm.
And so then when I had these three big relationships, with each one, when it's over, you self-reflect and you go, yeah, okay, I loved someone who didn't love me back. I'm never doing,
Mm.
I'm doing that again. And then the next one, is an addict, and you go, I have never
Yeah.
done that again. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you think that you're growing, right? I'm talking to myself, I'm learning, I'm understanding them,
Yeah.
me, their patterns, my patterns, think I'm growing. Get to the third one, and the third one ends up being just like my mother.
Girl.
And I did not see it coming. And that was the kick in the teeth. How did you not see it coming? Sorry, I just ruined the book for you.
It's fine. It's okay,
That's so
girl. I'm still gonna read it, okay?
so surprise. And so the next one, ends up being my mother's. So my mother's bipolar, and this is something I've had so much experience of with in my life, in friendships, but I never actually dated someone who was bipolar. So to have this
Oh
happen,
my gosh.
deception, it was I felt deceived by him because he knew how my experience with bipolar people, and he hid that from me. I felt deceived by myself, right? Like, how did
How
you
did
know
I not see the
me?
sign?
Well, and then even worse, when you go back and analyze it afterwards, you go, oh my God, the signs
It
were
was
all
right there.
there. In fact, I even knew they were there. I was always making excuses for his bad behavior. Oh, he had a bad day at work, or oh God, the ex-wife called. He's in, or his daughter gave him trouble today. Like, okay, making excuses.
Mhm.
Why can't we just call bad behavior exactly what it is? Bad behavior. We're so programmed to make excuses for other people's bad behavior.
Yeah.
And that's why we can be deceived and not see these things coming when they were right in your face. When him and I broke up, that really stopped me in my tracks. It really brought me to my knees because I just went, wait a minute. This isn't unrequited love. This isn't an addict. This is
Yeah.
my mother. Like, this is something I've
That
spent
reflection.
feel, trying to run from, right? Like, I also blocked childhood. So my sisters had this memory of childhood and I didn't. I knew
Yeah.
the big pillars. I knew
Mhm.
the things that had happened to me, but I didn't have any details around those things. And I didn't, I never remembered what house we lived in or what age I was, or like, people have these memories of these
A
things. And I
lot of that information was, yeah.
know that,
Mhm.
right? Like, how do you remember that? Because I blocked trauma. So the trigger and the reason he was put in my path by the universe in the first place was to trigger that and to wake me up.
That's
Because
fucked up.
right? It was like, wake up already. We've given you these partners and you're not figuring out what the trauma is. And because it does take us time to sort that out. And
No, it does.
does, right? Like, no one's standing over you giving you the answers. I mean, if you have someone in your life that's doing that, that is awesome. And congratulations, because that's a
Not
gift.
everyone has that.
Most people don't have that, right?
Mhm.
So because he unlocked my childhood trauma, I started having nightmares. I started having memories. I started having,
Hmm.
oh, just all my demons came out to play. And I mean, they came out to play and to sit on my chest while I was sleeping. And I could feel them trying to strangle me at night. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, when I say my demons came
Yeah.
out to play, they came out to play. And by
Yeah.
playing, I was the toy, right? So it was really, I had to
Mm.
seek help. I sought spiritual
Yeah.
help. I was introduced to this lovely, lovely channeler. And
The beginning of the book.
yes, yes. So I start at the end, right? Because and she really, oh
Gosh, girl.
my God, she opened my eyes. She helped me to understand my pattern. These three men were a pattern. I just didn't have a definition for that pattern yet. Again, I thought it was
Hmm.
unrequited love. You don't love me back, an addict, and now someone who's bipolar. The pattern was actually narcissists. Right? Narcissist, narcissist, narcissist. Every one of them was a narcissist. My
Hmm.
mother's a narcissist. This is the pattern. When I understood the pattern, I was then able to attack it, so to speak, right? And so she gave me a way to move forward, a place to start. And then she told me I would write the book. She said, this is your mission to write this. And through the writing, you're gonna find your own healing, which in and of itself is the biggest blessing you can ever give to yourself. To pull down my masks, to start living in my sovereignty, to put up healthy
Mm-hmm.
boundaries, to completely change the kind of people I'm bringing into my life and what I think about myself, which is where it begins, right? Your own self. How can anyone ever love you if you don't love yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the real definition of love is. Also, how can anyone ever love you when you haven't even defined it for yourself? And unfortunately, we define love through our childhood experiences.
I was about to say that because I strongly believe when we go out into the world, we become adults, we attract our parents, like whoever raised you, you're attracting that whether you like it or not, you know?
And
Um,
heal it, right? Until you heal it. Yeah, of course, because the root
that's
chakra,
crazy.
your root chakra is where all the programming of childhood went into, right? Until you're about 7 years old is all the root chakra. All of that tribal programming is going in there, plus the experiences you actually endured until you're almost 7 year old. So whatever love looks like in your home,
That's
not only
what
how do your parents treat each other, or if you
how they
have,
treat you.
right, if grandmas and grandpas are really present in your life, uncles, aunts, whatever your tribe is, not only do you see how their love is amongst that adult relationship, but how do they treat you? Because in my home, that was very different. My father
It,
was so loving to my mother. He loved her. He brought her flowers every week. He got her coffee every morning. He was so loving to my mother,
Mhm.
but neither of them loved us. I mean, what a
That's
mind.
some deep,
Oh, that's
that's
a mind fuck, right? Right there. Like that messes with your mind as a child, because then what's the question the child asks? What's wrong with me that they don't love me? They love each
hmm
other. Why don't they love me?
hmm
Right? When we're horrible and harmful to our children, the child doesn't stop loving the parent. They stop loving
hmm
themselves.
Yeah,
So now
that's
here's
some deep.
you're attracting into your life, right? Somebody who doesn't love you. They say they do, but they don't action it.
I think it's like the actions. I feel like as a child, at some point, you can say all you want, but then, if you don't back it up with your actions, at some point when the child like grows up, they're gonna be like, "Did you love
Mm.
me? Did you not?" But how how was it? The how was the writing process of this? Like, you went through some shit.
Yeah.
Like, how what like I'm like as I'm reading it, I'm telling you the amount of like that I did when I was reading it, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, how was this for you to write and to like remember, like you're re-bringing and the stuff that was said to you,
Yes.
how
Yep.
was that?
So I've never written anything before, right? This was not
Your
only was
first.
I having my spiritual awakening and manifesting or walking through this whole new path that I'm on now, writing the book. I lose my job. I have zero money coming in, and I'm tasked with like, you're going to write a book. It's going to take you 2 years. She was really specific about it. I was like, when the heck am I supposed to have time for that? Well, guess what? COVID hit and I lost my job, just like everyone else I'm in the tourist industry. And so I had nothing but time. But I was also isolated. I didn't have any human contact
Mhm.
almost at all.
Yeah.
And I was living with my demons and my ghosts. So it
Wow.
was, there were many things that were going on. So first of all, I'm learning how to be a writer and I don't know what I'm doing. So I just started writing. I started at the beginning and I would write and write and write. And then I would get writer's block and I'd go,
I've
I
heard of that.
know what happened next. I know what I want to say. What's the problem? And I could be on a paragraph for, 4 hours. And I'd finally go, dude, if you're on the same paragraph 4 hours later, like you need to walk away from this for today. And then I would realize that what was happening is that because I was healing while I was writing, for me, those two things went hand in hand. As I
Yeah, yeah.
relived, to write an experience, you have to relive it, right? In order to write enough details to pull in the audience member, as you said, you were sucked in right from the beginning. That
Yeah.
needs detail, it needs to bring the reader along on the story, right? I didn't know those things. So the first version did not look like that. I promise you that.
Mhm.
In fact, it looked like an angry teenager wrote a diary, because when I went back after all was said and done, like a year after writing that first draft
Mhm.
and read it, I had already healed quite a bit. And I read it and went, oh, dear Lord, look at the rage and the blame and
Yeah.
the anger in those pages. But of course, the first draft came out that way. I wrote it.
Mhm.
I started off writing it from an unhealed place. And these were the things I never got to sort of say to my parents as well, or the people that harmed me.
Wow.
They're out
Oh
of your
my
life once you're finished
God.
with them. So I would
Was
get this
that
right.
healing for you?
Oh my God, so healing. Not just writing about them and purging what I needed to
Mhm.
say, but then came the forgiveness. You see, I had to
Mhm.
forgive each one of them as well.
Dang.
Of course you do, right? That of course you do. You have to forgive. You cannot
Yeah.
move without forgiving. I don't care what anyone says. Not forgiving someone is like poison. It's like acid in your body. It's like drinking
You're
acid.
gonna continue. It's that loop. Yep.
Well, it's like drinking acid every day and wondering why the person you're angry with isn't dying or isn't drinking battery acid, like so don't do that, right? Like let it
Mhm.
go. But so I'd get this writer's block and I would realize that spirit was literally saying to me, oh baby, you don't get to move forward. You're not just writing these things. You need to heal that. And I would sit with that thing and then I'd go, cool. How do I do that? I'm by myself. I'm new to my spiritual awakening. It's all out
Mhm.
there. I'm writing about it. I know what I'm feeling, but now what?
Mhm.
And I turned to YouTube. I'd never been on YouTube in my life, but I didn't know what else to do. And I would be like, uh, you know, I need help, right? I need help. If I'm supposed to heal this, please show me how. And I'd go on YouTube, and the first person's face that would pop up on the screen was exactly the person I needed to listen to. And I would follow what they told me to do. And I would find so much power in that. And I found the right teachers that I needed, that I resonated with.
Yeah.
It was like I would write and then I would take time off and heal that moment.
You
And
need
that took
to.
me so long to write that first version. And I wasn't in a hurry. It was never about finishing it. I mean, of course it's
That's
about,
good.
you know what I'm saying. It was the journey for me. And then I went back and edited it 3 times before I ever hired a professional editor. And every time I went through it to make it shorter and shorter because it was way too long, I found more layers of healing that needed to be healed. So it was the same process. Like, stop, no, go heal that now. But the healing gets faster as you get under the layers. Those first layers take a little bit of time to process, but now the healing happens sometimes in minutes. I'm triggered by something and I go, oh, I'm triggered. And I don't
Because you've
just flail now
forgiven.
when I'm triggered. I go, ooh, I know what to do. I know to analyze it, sort out why I'm triggered, figure out who it reminded me of, heal that, forgive that, and I'm done all in 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a change to the first things
Hmm.
that I heal. I could have sat with just my mother for 3 weeks working through that, right? So, but now it comes faster. So yeah, it was a really interesting process.
What was the most challenging part of writing the book? Was it the healing?
Whew. Um, at first, what was super challenging was childhood. Um,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember enough details to make it detailed. So again, I had 3 or 4 big things that had happened, but I didn't remember why they happened. It was all jumbled in my mind. So I needed to sit with my older sister and say, I know you
Yeah.
don't want to talk about it, but please do this for me. I need to know whatever you're comfortable telling me because I need details. That's what we did. Yeah. And then the
That's
second,
amazing.
yeah, that was it was good for me and it was good for her as well. Um, because we don't like to talk about it. And
Yeah.
we did it with humor, probably dark humor, because that's what happened. Probably have some dark humor. We have a lot of dark humor in our family, but we did it with some dark humor, but we still did it with humor. And then I guess when I was writing it, one of the biggest challenges was making sure, um, even though I was writing about what other people had done to me, so to speak,
Mhm.
I really, I really hated that I was doing that to them. Like it was never my intent to expose them or shame them or out them. I actually really struggled with writing about my parents and writing about my exes. I actually really struggled with that.
Wow.
That was when she first told me I had to do it. I really resisted. I never wanted to hurt them
Mhm.
or put them in, again, right? I wasn't there to shame them, or this wasn't about them. It was about
Yeah.
it was about me, but they're part of the story. So I really am pleased that in the end that I know they might not feel this way, but I wrote it from a place of healing. And again, it was never about them. It was to show how childhood trauma can lead to these terrible patterns in relationships, but that
They're the root.
yeah, yes, it can be healed.
Do you have a favorite chapter or section of your book, and why is it your favorite?
Ooh, I never really thought about a favorite. There,
What was like the most healing, your favorite? Like,
because there were parts that were so heavy that I'm proud of the way I wrote them, because
yes, girl.
when I wrote that I go, okay, I'm proud of that then, because it was hard to write. But
Mhm.
I'd say probably my favorite section is probably the first chapter, the talk with the channeler when I first met her, because it's powerful.
Yeah, and then you sat with her, right? It was a face-to-face thing.
Yeah.
How did you come about like her? Like were you just looking and she just pulled up? Like
Yeah.
imagine.
It was during the 90s and and early 2000s. It was really hard to find people that really knew what they were talking about.
Oh
I
yeah,
went to a
that
friend.
time difference.
Oh gosh,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, I'm old, so I grew up in with
You
years and
don't look old.
they're not being super available, right? That's what I mean when I went to YouTube and went, "Oh my God, look at all the teachers on here." That was amazing to me. Of course, I still think a lot of people are charlatans, if you will, or have false messages, but you do need to be discerning of what you listen to. But those things were barely even available when I was growing up. It was maybe one or two esoteric books out there that were so either using such lofty language that I didn't understand it, or they were
Yeah.
dry and almost scientific, if you will. They were just like,
Mm,
oh, lost me
mm.
again, right? So it's really important that I wrote my book to be um, almost like fiction. I really wanted people to see the lessons in it, but to also have a really good story to read. So yeah, the conversation with the channeler was, oh, you asked how I saw her. So I asked a girlfriend of mine who I know goes to a lot of these kinds of workshops and stuff. So I was like, you must know someone that can help me. Like I just broke up with this person. Of course, she's my friend, so she's aware what's happening.
Yeah.
And like, who can I go to? And she immediately knew this channeler. She's like, this woman is perfect for you. She lives
Hmm.
5 hours from here, so she's not even close. But you can do these kinds of things on Zoom. And of course, I was like, I'm not. No, I want face to face. Right now, I'm happy to do this on Zoom. But when you're new to it, you're kind of like, no, no, I need a human being face to face to speak to. And she just so happened was coming to Vancouver a couple weeks later, and she made time to meet with me. And it is the only time I've ever had a session with her live. All my other sessions with her, because I reached every 6 months or so,
You
her and
go
I,
back.
they're all on Zoom. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But that one
Oh
was live.
my
And I'm glad it was,
God.
because I needed
You,
that
yeah.
that human to be there. Yeah.
Wow. How has writing this book changed you as a person?
Oh my gosh. Instead of operating from a place where I'm always reacting to my
Hmm.
triggers, because when we're in survival mode, that's what we do. We
Mhm.
react to our triggers, and we have many of
Mhm.
them. Now I do what I want to do because I'm
Mhm.
not spending all my energy surviving in
Mhm.
survival mode. Now I'm grounded. I feel grounded when a trigger hits me, because it doesn't mean you never have triggers anymore just because you heal, as I was saying before. But now I look at those triggers and I go, huh, you just kind of pissed me off. Why? Why did that happen? I don't get so lost in it, so lost in my trigger of being pissed off now that I can't even see the forest for the trees. Now I go, oh, I'm a little irritated with what you just said right now. Why? And
Mhm.
I go immediately to analyze it and go, that really triggered me. Oh,
Right?
my ex used to do that.
Ugh.
Oh, wonder you triggered me. My ex used to do that. Cool. I'm going to heal this. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to send love and light to my ex and to the person that triggered me. And thank you for triggering me, because clearly something there needed to be healed. Do you see the difference of a space that I'm operating from?
Yeah.
It's calm, it's grounded. I'm in
Mhm.
control of my life now. Whereas my
Mhm.
triggers used to be in control of my life. My pain used to be in control of my life. My
Mhm.
trauma used to be in control of my life. Not anymore. Healthy boundaries. That's the other thing. I have healthy, and strong, solid boundaries.
That's
No,
amazing. I think
that's
that's one
just,
of the most important things that you
yeah.
need on your journey. And also, I feel like this is my belief and my view. I feel like life is filled with like forgiveness lessons, and there's a lesson in every single person that we come across and stuff like that. That trigger is a huge, it's a healing so that you can go on how you sit here and like you have your analyzing stuff, and it's like as you keep going, there's less emotion
Hmm.
to it, you know?
Well, there's less reflex to it, I think, right? Knee-jerk
Reaction.
reaction, because we need emotions, right? Healing is actually feeling. Feeling is healing. Healing is feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about a situation for 20 years and you're still talking about it, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm all for
Mm-hmm.
therapy. I think therapy is really good for you. Talking
Mm-hmm.
about it does help you for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we are mind, body, and spirit. If all we
Mm-hmm.
do is talk, well, if you're still talking about the same thing 10 years later and it's still
It's not.
triggering you, you are not on your healing journey, right? Like kick it
Mm-hmm.
into high gear, figure
Mm-hmm.
out where it's living in your body and figure out as well in your soul. And that's where, when we do that healing, then we're able to thrive and just
Mm-hmm.
stop being in survival mode. Humanity's been in survival mode for so long, we don't even realize that
Yes.
that it's been thousands of years we've been in survival mode, right?
Hmm.
It's time to heal that stuff.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone that's looking to write about their story? Like to go on and go into like, because my girl's an author. You're a freaking author, girl. Like, what advice do you have for someone that is looking, especially in the, I don't know if you want to call it genre, but like in the topic of trauma and healing, what
Hmm.
advice do you have?
So ready, like a memoir, like what I did.
Yes.
If you're writing your memoir and going through your healing at the same time, don't put a time limit on it. That's going
Hmm.
to be my advice to you. Like when I started writing, I had no time limit on it because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have an agent sitting in the wings giving me a deadline. I didn't even have editors or anyone else sitting in the wings. I hired those people when I was ready to do so. Because if you're only focusing on the writing, you're leaving the other part behind. Oh, you
Hmm.
bet you're going to do some healing while you write. You
Hmm.
bet. Because you cannot recreate those moments authentically
Hmm.
and not relive them. And by reliving them, you're dredging up your pain, right? So once you've brought it to the surface, man, work on it. Don't just write
Yeah.
the next section, work on it. And that's my biggest advice. Make sure that you are in tandem as you're writing and you're healing those things. And if your spirit guides are helping you out, which they are, they're gonna want you to do that anyways, right? They don't want you to just
Hmm.
write the whole thing and then go, okay, maybe now I'll focus on healing. No, 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 no. you're already in that moment while you're writing it. You may as well
Hmm.
put get it right there.
When did you get into opening to like spirituality?
I was introduced to it
Hmm.
um, in my mid 20s, I'd say.
Okay.
So I part of my childhood, not only was there a lot of abuse, but there was also a lot of religion, and it was really toxic religion, right? Really fear mongering, fear based,
Yeah.
cult like uh,
Hmm.
religion. So when I
Hmm.
first left home as a teen,
Yeah.
anti everything, right? For me, it was all lumped together. It's all religion. It's all evil. It's all bad. Like, I don't believe in God. Like, don't even get me started, right? And
Yeah.
in my mid 20s, when I'm not so angry anymore, right?
Hmm.
Not so bitter
Yeah.
anymore. It's not so fresh anymore. I was introduced to my very first spiritual person, I guess. She was what she called herself a white witch. She practiced magic.
Okay.
She practiced magic.
Love that.
And she was an astrologist, a numerologist. Of course,
She
she
did
heard this, she
everything.
saw the vision. She was everything. This girl was wide awake. Um, and so the first time she sat down in my living room and told me everything about myself, I just went, "What? Nobody had ever done that to me before. Of course not." And of course, your religious brain goes, "Oh my God, that's Satan," right? And then the new brain goes, "Yeah, I don't believe in that anymore," right? But like that's where your brain takes you when you've been raised in a religion that has told you that for so long. So I was skeptic that first evening with her because someone had said, "I'm bringing this girl over. She claims she has all these gifts. I'm skeptic myself, but I want to date
Yeah,
this girl.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really like her. Oh, it's in my memoir. I really want to date her. I want your opinion." So when she came in, I was already in like, all right, I'm going to see if you're full of crap or not mode. And she blew my mind within 10 seconds of opening her mouth. And I already went, oh my, and I said to him, "Did you tell him one thing about me before you came over here?" He's like, "I very deliberately did not say anything but your name because I wanted to also see what she'd come up with." And so, yeah, this was an intense 3 month relationship where my mind just like, because when you're first open to it, and being a Sagittarius that I am, I'm like, I need to know everything about this right now, all of it, all of the whole
Hmm.
universe's lessons right now, right now. I need to know it now. I started reading all these books and really diving in, but I don't take the time to cement it or to digest it or to actually
Ah, okay. I'm
visualize.
excited to read that part of the book.
I'm just like, I want to read everything, right? So, and but then after that, so I'm aware about energy now. I'm aware of how we steal energy from each other. I'm aware of these patterns, and that's it. She's no longer a friend. She moves to Mexico. 90s, the early 2000s. I don't know where to find these people. There's no YouTube. There's barely internet at this point, right? Like, and if you don't have a computer at home, and I didn't because I was a poor, a broke teenager,
No,
I didn't have
yeah.
internet at home. Where do you even go to find these things? And then how do you know people are real? So I moved to Mexico for a long time. When someone would say to me, "Oh, I have a really good shaman, let's go see him," I'd go, "Yeah, I'm all over it." But I always waited for people's recommendations. I never just answered an
Mhm.
ad in the paper because that's how things were done in those days. I always waited for recommendations. So it could be 7, 8 years would go by, and then boom, I'd get to meet another cool teacher.